Hi, welcome back to A Faster Me. Before I start this video, I'd like to say thank you to the 100 subscribers that I have. Hit the 100 mark just maybe, a week ago or so. If you watch my videos, you know I'm not exactly subscriber hungry, but I appreciate everyone that tunes in and watches my channel. The reason why I make videos is I like to share, I like to get feedback and have conversation with people that share a common love or passion for cycling. So with that being said, today I'd like to talk about Cadence. I hear a lot of, there's a lot of videos out on Cadence. I hear a lot of advice about Cadence and the preferred Cadence and which Cadence is most efficient, things like that. And I think a lot of the information out there is misleading. And the reason why I think that is because a lot of experienced riders or even professional cyclists, they always tell you, hey, ride at whatever cadence you feel comfortable. And that's very misleading for new cyclists. And it reminds me of when I was playing golf. When I was playing golf, a lot of the better players or the pros, and you hear it on TV all the time, they always say, hey, improve your putting and your scores will drop tremendously. And it's simply not true for beginning golfers or for the average golfer. The pros take something for granted. And the thing they take for granted is they always hit the green majority of the time. They're going to hit the green at like 80% of the time. So yeah, sinking a putt makes their score lower. But for most of us, we're not hitting greens in regulation. So it doesn't matter if we two putt, it took us 4 or 5 shots to get to the green. We're still getting a bogey, double bogey, things like that. So with cycling, it's basically the same thing. A lot of professionals and a lot of experienced cyclists will say, hey, ride at whatever cadence you want. And the average cyclist or the average beginner has a cadence that is so slow, they would never be able to keep up with any of their friends or a group ride or anyone that has a little bit more experience than they do. And unless you want to ride by yourself pretty much 100% of the time, you're going to need to have a faster cadence. And I don't mean a fast cadence. What I mean is your cadence is going to need to be within a certain range. So when I started cycling, I thought I had a decent cadence. And then I got a cadence sensor and a bike computer and found out I was pedaling at about 65. And 65 is incredibly slow. There's no way I can match accelerations, get off the stoplight, things like that with any type of speed if my preferred cadence is 65. So, and I know people that have a much slower cadence than 65. They're in a big gear. Sometimes they're in the 5211, pedaling at about 50 and going about 12 miles per hour. That's an incredibly big gear for traveling at 12 miles per hour speed. So in my opinion, everyone needs to have a cadence within a certain like 20 RPM range or so. So if you look at the pros, when the pros say a slow cadence, they're talking about 85 is a slow cadence. Maybe 80. I don't know anyone any pro that on the flat roads would have a cadence of slower than 80. And I'm not talking time trials. We're not talking about in the draft. In the draft, your cadence can be slower. You can push a bigger gear at a slower cadence, get your heart rate down, things like that. And if you're on a time trial, you don't have to match accelerations. You're at your own pace and you typically want to get your speed up, and then you may push a big gear for the duration of the time trial if it's on a flat road. So, but for most of us, riding in group rides or just our weekend rides or any type of racing, you definitely cannot have a cadence of 50 or 60. Even in the 70s is pushing it, unless you're going uphill. Downhill doesn't matter because technically with gravity and your weight, your bike can go faster than you can pedal anyway. So that's going to always vary. So we're really talking about flat roads here. And we're talking about if you ever ride with someone, it could be one of your friends, 2 of your friends, a group ride, any type of race, you definitely need to have a higher cadence. And I would say your cadence needs to be probably 80 or above. And the reason that is because anytime there's an acceleration, you're going to need to be able to bring that cadence, whatever cadence you hold, you're going to need to be able to spin it up at least 20 RPMs to be able to match an acceleration, unless you're going to be wasting seconds clicking through gears to get to a gear that you can accelerate from. In most group rides and even in races, people lose touch with the pack anytime the pace slows down. And I know that seems a little what is it called? It may seem a little ironic or contradictory or whatever, that you're going to lose contact when it slows, but you lose contact because you slow and then it accelerates, and you're typically stuck in a heavier gear and you can't get off the line or get your speed up to match that acceleration. So if you're, riding around in a cadence of, let's say, 80, but again, not struggling at 80, a nice smooth cadence at 80, you can probably spin it up to 95 or so if you needed to in order to accelerate. I typically keep my cadence around 90 to about 105 or so. If I'm lower than 90, I'm either trying to push a big gear, or it could even be just that we're on a very long ride and fatigue has set in or something. And even then, I'm going to lighten my gear even more and spin. So basically, there's a range that you need to be in. And if your cadence is 60, 50, 70 even, I would say practice on it. Get your cadence up to where it's at least 80. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that say, hey, I know a guy, or I do this. I pedal at 65. Trust me, I have a friend that's way more fit than I am, way faster than I am. He likes to pedal at 50. He likes to pedal at 65, but he still struggles, even against me, when I accelerate, or when we're going, let's say, 25 miles per hour or more, 20, 25 miles per hour, things like that, because you can't spin that huge gear all day and not match accelerations. A lot of people will say everyone's different. It's really not true. Everyone's not that different. Of course, we all have minor differences, but in general, we are all the same. Our bodies react pretty much the same. There's always going to be some small differences here and there, but it's just like in anything else in life, we're all more alike than we are different. That's why most medicines work for us, most trainings work for all of us, things like that. And of course, someone's going to say, well, it doesn't work for me. Sweet spot training doesn't work for me, or zone 2 training doesn't work for me. It does. Unless you're doing it wrong, it does work for you. You just may get better results in a different type of training. But all of it does work for each of us. Our results are just going to vary. So yeah, it may not be the optimum training for you. And, a certain cadence may not be optimum to you. But I know if you're going to ride with people, with group rides, or if you plan on doing any racing, you definitely are going to need to have a cadence within a certain range of the rest of the field. If not, you will not be able to match accelerations. So hey, there's a pretty good example of what we're talking about here with cadence on YouTube. I forgot the name of the video. I will try to find it, maybe put it in the description. But it's basically I forgot what country they're in. They're not speaking English, but it's basically a pro mountain biker against a pro BMX guy and against a pro track sprinter. But he's only on the track. He's not on a road bike. He's on a track bike. So it's a fixed gear, huge gear. And they race 50 meters, 75 meters, 100 meters, 150 meters, and 200 meters. And the results are kind of typical. I'm sure most of us may think that the results would be different. But if I'm not mistaken, the BMX guy wins every race except the 200 meter. And that's how long it took the track sprinter, who is the only one out of the three racers that specializes in sprinting. He only won one race. He came in last in all the rest. He won the 200 meters because it took him that long to get that big gear turning and catch up to the guys that accelerated off the line, including the mountain bike. Mountain bike has, incredibly small gears. But it can accelerate because it has those small gears, and typically they have a super high cadence. Mountain bikers have a very high cadence. So yeah, that's not exactly proof because most of us are rolling already. And yes, if they would have had a rolling start, that sprinter would have probably won at least another race or so. I would assume he would have, depending on what speed they start rolling at, he would at least won the 150-meter one as well. But starting from a stoplight or coming out of a slow corner, things like that, that's a good example of how a higher cadence can benefit you with accelerations, especially when you're on a traditional road bike. You only need to get your speed up and then you can shift to those bigger gears. But if you ride around and with a slow cadence in a big gear, yeah, you're going to get caught out more often than not whenever that pace slows down then accelerates, or if it just accelerates. So yeah, anyway, let the debate begin. If you have a different opinion or if you share the same opinion, just let me know in the comments. Please keep it civil, peaceful, and respectful. And yeah, we'll see you next time. I'm pretty much moved in now. You see some junk in the background, only because I hang my bibs. So in the corner over there, my wife and I are drying some bibs over there on this little clothes rack we have. We don't have the garage cleaned out and everything else yet. So yeah, I'll hopefully start making videos again, and hopefully we'll get some, get control of this COVID deal and be able to ride outside again. We are riding outside, but what I mean is, have some events and ride in groups, things like that. So until next time, see ya.